Hello and welcome. Today I'll be doing a highlight on my election night video from last night. But before we get started, please go check the video out. I'll link it below. It's over an hour long, includes the presidential, Senate, House, governor races. It has over 450 slides, over 100 candidates involved. Please go check it out. And before we get started, please go subscribe. Let's hit 400 subscribers by election night. I will be live streaming tomorrow, so I hope to see you there. And let's get started. So we're going to start off with the safe Trump states: Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, North, South Dakota, Nebraska, except the second, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Alaska, giving Trump 116 electoral votes in the safe column. Going over to Joe Biden: Washington, California, Hawaii, Illinois, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, Maine's first. All going safe for Joe Biden, giving him 155 electoral votes. Going over to Donald Trump for the likely states: Texas, Iowa, Ohio, South Carolina. All of those states going likely margin. Texas will go to Trump probably between a 5 and 8 point margin. I don't see it falling into a lean margin, as well as I don't see it as competitive as polls are showing it. Some polls have like the New York Times gave Trump a +4. That I could see that possibly happening, where it narrows down to a 4-point lead from the previous 8.5 point lead from 2016. But I don't see a Biden +3 or a +2 Trump. That is too narrow in my opinion, as well as a lot of betting odds has shown pretty heavy support for Trump there, as well as a lot of good signs for early voting for Trump. In Iowa, there was the Des Moines, Iowa Register poll, which was the gold standard of Iowa polling. Was correct last time around, the most accurate pollster for Iowa, the gold standard, +7 for Trump in the latest poll. Same lead as Trump had in 2016 in the same poll at the same time. That is a good sign for Trump in the Midwest, especially in the state of Iowa. And when a state like Iowa's at a +7, that reflects states around it: Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska's second, Missouri, Illinois. Now, Illinois is not going to get too much affected. Missouri, it's only going to do so much of an effect, but it's better effects for Minnesota, Wisconsin areas. Going over to Ohio, Trump will win it probably by 5 to 8 points. Good polling there, between a 4 and 5 point lead for Trump in polling. And if you adjust it to 2016 shifts as well as 2018 shifts, it shifts it about 2 to 3 points to the right. So that would be a likely probably 6 to 7 point lead for Trump. It could expand to an 8 or 9, but it's more unlikely. South Carolina will go to Trump probably by 8 to 14 points. This is a reliably Republican state. It's just a more narrow state. Now going over to Joe Biden's likely states: Oregon, New Mexico, Colorado, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maine at large, Virginia. Oregon will go to Biden probably by 10 to 12 points. New Mexico 8 to 14. Colorado 6 to 10. Virginia 8 to 12. New Jersey 12 to 14. Connecticut 12 to 14. Maine at large 6 to 10. All these states are reliably Democratic states, except Colorado and Virginia were previously toss-up states and have become more Democratic and are less competitive anymore, making them more Democratic states and less likely to be playing a big role in the 2020 and future elections to come. Going over to Trump for lean states: Georgia, North Carolina, Maine second. Georgia had some way better polling improvements for Trump, as well as more rally events after seeing a dip in polling. There was a poll that went from a Trump +1 to a Trump +4, a 3-point shift in the from the previous week till now. That is a good sign for his campaign, and there's other polling that has shifted in his favor. So I think Trump will win the state probably between 2 and 4 points, a more narrow race than 2016, but still a win for Trump. North Carolina has had vastly improved polls. Trump was behind with Biden +3 in the state not too long ago, shifting to a plus +0.6 lead for Trump. A lot of good polling for him as well there. And the state usually in its polling underperforms Republican candidates. In 2014, Tillis only had a one poll that was in his favor. He won the state in the end, as well as Trump had an average about a 1 or 2 point lead in the polling last time around. Trump won it by about 4 points. So you shift polls roughly 1 to 2 points in the state, it's going to be a lean margin. In Maine, 2nd, this is another good sign for Trump's campaign. Betting has reliably stood with Trump winning it. Trump also had a 10-point margin. You'd have to shift it by 11 points. Even with turnout, in fact, it still wouldn't play that big of a role. I don't see Biden really doing too many rallies in the Northeast. I know Trump's done a couple in New Hampshire, which could have some people from Maine 2nd District play effects in there. But Maine 2nd has really not been in play this time around, but it's still going to go to Trump. Going over to Joe Biden in the lean states, Nevada, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nebraska's 2nd, New Hampshire. Nevada has seemingly gotten closer. A new Emerson poll gave Biden only a +2. That is a huge shift, and the average lead is only 3.5. So Nevada could surprisingly flip to Trump in the 2020 election tomorrow. With polling shifts, I would not be completely surprised, but it would definitely be huge if that were to happen. Minnesota has shown some tightening in the polls, only a 4-point lead for Biden there. Previously 10 points. Wisconsin, Michigan's not likely. Wisconsin has seen roughly the same lead for Joe Biden as they did for Hillary Clinton around the same period of time. So I don't really see... I see the state probably favoring Biden slightly more than Trump. Could go to Trump again, but it was the state that actually in the Midwest that actually Trump lost support from in 2012 to 2016. Actually, less voters voted for him than Mitt Romney there. But in Michigan, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania have added a lot of votes. Michigan over 100,000, Pennsylvania over 300,000 from Mitt Romney's margin. And Minnesota, I think it was about 20 or 30,000. Now, going into Michigan, the state has shown a huge tightening of the polls. It was a previous +10 for Biden, narrowed down to about a +5 in a matter of a couple of days. So, Michigan could surprisingly be in a very close state this time around once again. Trafalgar, which a lot of people give a bad rap for, even though it is the most accurate Michigan pollster. I'm not saying they're good everywhere else. They're also good in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. But in states like Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, the Sun Belt's more, Florida, it's not too bad, but it's not that great either. But in like Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, it's not a good pollster. It's a very good pollster in the Midwest, though. Michigan in 2016 predicted a Trump win, the only pollster there. In 2018 showed a Deputy Stabenow win. By the closest to what the result was, it was only about 1 or 2 points off from what the result was, and it was actually more in her favor than the result, actually. So Michigan could surprisingly have a correct result with Trafalgar again. Nebraska's 2nd. This area has been shifting Democratic recently, and betting odds gives Biden about a 70% chance of winning it. Emerson gave Biden a +3 there. The New York Times not too long ago gave Biden +7. I don't think it's going to be that big, but the Emerson poll is pretty accurate, probably 2 to 3 points. In New Hampshire, a lot of polling has shown about an 8-point lead for Biden there, so it's definitely not in effect this time around. The state of New Hampshire, a pretty big toss-up state in the last 2 previous elections, but not too big this time around. Going back to Donald Trump, for the tilt states, Florida, Arizona, and we'll come back to Pennsylvania. So Florida has had a lot of increasingly better polling for Trump there. The NBC poll gave Trump +1. There was a bunch of other polls that gave a close race. It says the good news for Trump, as well as in Predict It, gave Trump 61% chance of winning the state. So that is huge, especially with polling so tight, as well as early voting looking good for Trump, only 2 points behind in registered voters. In Arizona, a lot of better polling as well, a 4-point shift towards Trump. It is currently around a tie in average polling there, as well as in Predicted, it shows a Trump win very narrowly, but shifting towards him with momentum. Now, moving into the final state, which will decide the election, in my opinion, Pennsylvania, which has a very close race. Biden only has a 2.5-point lead. Now, if you look in early October, Biden had around a 7.5-point lead, dropped down all the way to a 2.5-point lead. That is a 5-point shift to Trump in the last 2 weeks. And you also have to look, Trump pulled ahead 2.6 above the polling. It gave Hillary Clinton a +1.9. It resulted in a Trump +0.7. That's a 2.6 shift. Biden has 2.5. If we play the 2.6 shift in effect, which in the last, even in 2018, it underpolled Republicans slightly as well as Susquehanna has a good poll for Trump. Trafalgar, which is another poll that showed a Trump victory. It was the most accurate in the governor election in Pennsylvania, as well as the Senate election. Insider Advantage, I don't know too much about it, but that's another poll that gave Trump a victory there, as well as Rasmussen, which I'm not a big fan of. Rasmussen has always been kind of a weird pollster. NBC News, Marxist, I don't think it'll be a 5-point win. Emerson, that could be more possible, 4-point win, but anything above 5 points for either side is definitely, in my opinion, not feasibly possible. If we look at Trafalgar, went from a tie to a Trump +2. In Insider Advantage, it stayed the same. Where is it? Susquehanna. Is there another one? I thought there was. I don't think there was another poll. But in Pennsylvania, narrowing fast. Not too long ago, it was a +4. It dropped to a 2.5 lead. That's a huge shift in Trump's favor. So, according to that, as well as a lot closer of a race in the betting, it shows Biden with a 58 cents, Trump 46. That's only about a 55% chance Biden wins the state, 45% chance Trump wins the state. Now, not too long ago, it was about a 65% chance Biden wins the state. That is not a good sign for Biden's campaign in the last day of the election. So, in my opinion, Pennsylvania will go to Trump, re-electing him in president. Now, thank you for watching. Please go check out the election night video. It's way more in depth. You'll learn way more about what I'm talking about, as well as see more margins and actual percentages involved. Over an hour long, a lot of great graphics, 100+ candidates, a lot of research, a lot of time involved in it. So please go check it out, as well as please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's hit 400 subscribers by election night. Make sure to tune into the stream tomorrow. Hope to see you there. Thank you for watching.